My name is Heather Holden, and I teach the pre-AP biology class at the 9th grade building. Biology is one of our state test classes, so even the children coming into the AP program have to take the pre-AP biology so they can participate in that state test. So there are 67 major benchmarks that are covered in biology, but we start with environmental science and do a lot about the ecology and food pyramids and energy and that sort of thing, and then we move into cells and how cells function and DNA, and then we get into the things the kids like a little bit better, the genetics, which is a lot more fun for students as they're studying, and evolution, and then we get into classification of the kingdoms, animals, plants, fungus, protists, bacteria, and we end with human body systems. We are currently doing DNA in my classroom, and so one of the kids' favorite projects is they have to create a model of DNA, and they get very unique models that I get turned in. Some of them may come out of food or styrofoam balls or pipe cleaners, so they tend to enjoy that. The favorite typically every year is at the end, usually right after the state test, we usually dissect frogs, and they really get into that. There's a couple of other labs where we're looking at living organisms in the microscope. We're going to extract DNA out of some fruit at the end of this week, and so pretty much anytime you're doing a lab in biology class, the kids are engaged and are happy, and we try to get one in at least for every unit, if not for every chapter. And as a 9th grader, whether you're for all of your core classes, when you come in, you're going to take one actual AP class, and that's in the social sciences. It's AP Human Geography. So that's the one class where at the end of the year in May sometime you'll take an AP test, and if you pass it, you can get college credit for it. The other core classes are pre-AP biology, pre-AP English, and then they're typically in a more rigorous math class. It's not labeled pre-AP in the math classes. Those don't have a AP college credit test that go with them. The biology class has a state test, specifically biology EOC state test, and the English is still linked to your FCAT reading, so they both have a rigorous test, but it's not a college credit test. Some of the kids come to the Freshman Learning Center and get a little confused with some verbiage. We talk about pre-AP classes, and then some people call them AP plus classes. They are the same exact classes. It is basically any class that's one step above honors, and just some people say pre-AP, some people say AP plus. Either way, if you have a pre or a plus, it means you're taking the most rigorous class we have to offer, but it's not yet the college level with an AP College Board test to it. So those are the 4 core classes, or where you'd be in your more rigorous class levels. All the rest of your things would be like your Spanish or your computers, and you're going to be mixed in with anybody from regular to honors to pre-AP. But again, just the AP Human Geography has the College Board test.
I'm Martin O'Neill, and I teach U.S. Government and Politics. Well, actually, College Board, in essence, dictates the curriculum that we teach. And they're taking a look at government from kind of early beginning under our Constitution on up to present day policy and procedures. So it's kind of divided into 6 units. We spend a great deal of time early in every semester kind of digging deep into how we got to become who we are. And it kind of makes the rest of our semester, I think, play out a little bit better for us if we kind of have a sense of what they were building and what we've become as a result. Things are done in class. There's very little homework. And I think sometimes my seniors rather enjoy that, that there's not a lot of work outside the classroom. But so much what we do is based on contemporary issues as well, things that are going on currently within our own government and politics. So we're paying attention to that while we're covering an extensive content area that's required by College Board for my students to be ready for the AP test. There's a couple of outside assignments. My students do some looking at their own political beliefs. We do an activity on a political compass that's kind of fun. And my favorite activities probably would be when something comes up from my students as a discussion point, something that's contemporary, something that's just happening today, but somehow links into something we've discussed or had as a class lesson prior. I find myself being happy when my students raise their political awareness and start paying attention to things going on that are contemporary. It's challenging because, first off, it's a subject matter that most students don't think much about ever. And when they come into my classroom, they're seniors and their eyes on college, and so you're asking them to take a look at something that they view currently as not having much place in their life. So you're really wanting them to look well beyond high school, well beyond the city they live in and the things they do. So the AP test becomes very challenging because it's a curriculum area that there's not a tremendous amount of experience prior to being in my class. Then you're asked to retain a lot of knowledge about a broad subject, and then the AP test seems to always challenge my students because it's a combination of multiple choice and free response. The free response part of the test is very different, I gather, than other AP tests are. And what my students need to do in response to a free response on that test seems to be very different than what they've had in previous years. So I think the test itself becomes challenging because there's 60 multiple choice questions and you have 45 minutes to complete it. So it's a information intense test to begin with, and you have a lot of multiple choice questions, and from my perspective, a real lack of time to complete them. So you've really got to be on your game that day and do well. And then of course free response to me is a bit easier. 4 questions, 100 minutes. You have like a half an hour per question practically to respond. So I think there's plenty of time to really do well on free response. Multiple choice becomes a better predictor of how students are going to do on that overall though. First off, you have to take my class to graduate. How's that? So at some point in your high school career, preferably your senior year, although I do get a junior now and again, and I think I've even had a sophomore in the past, it is a senior class. So I do get students who are much more focused about life. They're 17, 18, they're not 14, 15, so I enjoy that. And I think that they'll enjoy, I hope, becoming more politically aware. They'll enjoy the discussions we have, the interaction we have in class, I think, is probably the things that I hear back from my students in terms of what they enjoyed best or enjoyed most about my class.
My name is Victoria Bayless, and I teach 2 AP classes. I teach Advanced Placement World History to sophomores and Advanced Placement European History to mostly seniors. Well, in both classes, since they're history classes, we cover a number of important things about historical thinking skills and reading different documents from the past and interpreting those documents and writing about those documents as well. In world history, the time frame we cover is from the very beginnings of humankind all the way to present day, so about 10,000 years of human history. And in European history, we start with the late Middle Ages and the Renaissance, and we go all the way until modern times. Activities. Well, one of the big important things, especially for my sophomores in world history, is I teach a lot of skills. So there is a lot of skills of reading, how to read a college level textbook and get the most out of it. There's a lot of note taking as well, how to take notes out of your textbook and how to take lecture notes when a teacher is talking in class, how to read and interpret different kinds of historical documents. So we do a lot of skill-based things, as well as different activities. There's a lot of writing. For example, my students today spent a whole day working on compare and contrast essays, and so we do a lot of those different kinds of things. Some favorite things that we do in world history is sometimes we do different simulation activities, and I try to put students in the kind of the time frame of the period in time in history. And for example, one of the favorite ones is what we call the Scramble for Africa. And students are placed in different groups, and each one of them of a different level of a group, and each different representing a different European country. And the classroom represents Africa. and each group gets a set of Post-its of different colors, and they get to claim all of the important and powerful and cool things in the classroom. And then we talk about why did they claim those things, and how is that like when the Europeans showed up in Africa, and everybody runs around the room, and it's always kind of chaotic, and it's always kind of fun. So we try to do some simulations and things like that to teach students and put them in that frame of mind. In European history, we do a lot more kind of class discussions and we're discussing documents and discussing what do they think about what was going on at that point in history. We also do some simulations and some things that are fun. The thing that they look forward to the most and the thing that they enjoy the most is the Enlightenment Coffeehouse. So typically in the fall, when we're studying the period of time of the Enlightenment, each student is given the role of a philosopher or a scientist or an author or someone important in the time period, and they have to do research about that person, and they write essays about them, and they make business cards and all kinds of things. They learn as much about their person as possible, and then on one Friday in class we actually have a coffee house. And so they like the coffee and the food is really what I think they like. But they must act and participate like they are that philosopher and person throughout the entire class period. And we have a lot of fun with trying to put ourselves in different situations in the past. So those are some of the fun things that we do. But it is a lot of hard work in order to get to all that fun stuff. Sure. The AP test for world history and for European history are very similar. The first section, yes, it's multiple choice questions. In world history, there are 70 multiple choice questions in 55 minutes. In European history, there are 80 questions in 55 minutes. And those multiple choice questions can cover basically anything that we have talked about throughout the school year. Some of those questions are map-based questions, and some of them are based on different reading passages and things. That's why we work on reading documents throughout the year. And then there is a free response time. There are 3 essays that have to be written by both. In world history, there is a document-based question where students are given a set of documents and have to answer an essay question based on those documents in front of them, as well as then a compare and contrast essay and a continuity and change over time essay. So 3 essays in about 2 hours, which can be a bit challenging. In European history, it's kind of the same. They also have a document-based question in which they have to answer, and then they get 2 free response questions, but they get some choices about the topics that it is that they would like to write about based on what it is that they know the most about. So it's a lot of information in a very, very short period of time. So it can be very difficult and very challenging, but my students have been very successful in the past, and I try to teach them everything that they need to know in order to pass that test and get that college credit as well. World history and European history are a lot of fun, but they're a lot of work. So one of the important things is to be ready to come in and be ready to work hard. And as long as they're ready to work hard, I will teach them everything that it is that they need to know in order to be as successful as possible. And history isn't all, that boring kind of stuff. We study a lot of fun things. We just spent the past week covering the Mongols, and I try to make history as interesting and important to make sure that they understand that what we are learning in class is having an impact on the world today. Advanced placement is run by the College Board, which is a company and that is recognized not just in the United States but internationally. And the College Board sets the standards for all of the different curriculum of all the classes that we teach, and all teachers who teach advanced placement have to go through an audit process and be approved by the College Board, as well as they are the ones that write the tests that our students take at the end of the year. So students, no matter where they're taking their advanced placement class, whether it is here in Vero Beach High School or in a different part of Florida or a different part of the United States, or even in different schools around the world, all students are given the same curriculum requirements, and teachers have to go through the same process, and the questions and the testing is exactly the same. So that's why it is so widely recognized by so many universities around the United States and around the world, because they know that it is a very set curriculum. Dual enrollment is a little bit different because it is run and organized by a local college. And so that local college gets to make some of the curricular assignments and make some of the decisions about testing and those kinds of things. And dual enrollment classes are typically recognized by some state universities, but not necessarily different universities in different states.
We want you for our AP program.
So the AP program has a lot of different classes that you can take, anything from a history class to a science class or even this math class. The teachers are very helpful. They're available for after-school help sessions. You just have to show interest and show up.
I'm Alexis Mcgrath. I'm a junior at Vero High School. The AP program is a good opportunity to get college credit at the end of the year. And as a student, you have to work hard to do it. It's pretty tough. As long as you work hard and stick with it, it's a good opportunity to knock some things out before you go to college.